How was their water experience in Africa? So when I think about not having water here at Bass, we had water bottles. We ordered pizza. Did you guys get pizza that night? Right? So the cafeteria didn't just drop over, right? I heard that Miss Donna was preparing pizza, so I pulled out a pizza from the freezer, and that's what we had for supper too. It wasn't easy, but we hopped over the staff. We went over to the store a couple miles from here and got some extra water bottles. We did fine, right? We made it happen. We walked a little further to get a shower, or we did things. When we were in Africa, do you remember seeing that some of the ladies would pull a big barrel on the back of their back with water? There were donkey carts that we would pass with huge water barrels in the back. And do you remember seeing the big cisterns? Have you guys seen this maybe on TV, maybe on a show, or if you've been on a mission trip? Sometimes people have to walk miles to buy water once a week or once every few days, right? Water is something that's so important. And when I think about the perspective, I felt so bad that I didn't have water. I don't know, I felt like I was done a little dirty. You guys, were you a little bit annoyed? You felt a little extra stinky, right? But if you think about, in some places, they don't have water at all. So there's so much about perspective. Perspective is what today's sermon's about. I guess it's called First World Problems, but really the topic of today's presentation is perspective, because even though our water went out and I was feeling sorry for myself, we can look at it from two different sides, and it can be total disaster, or it can be not really a big deal. I looked up perspective in the Oxford Online Dictionary, and it says a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, your point of view. So I would like someone really quickly to pass out, everybody gets an animal very quickly. Raise your hand if you need a pen or a pencil. Also, you're getting ready to color something. If you feel you need crayons for this, Connor's going to come and bring you crayons. So each one of you gets a picture. This is an animal, but I want you to not talk about it until you do what I'm going to tell you to do. Don't talk about it with each other. You can look at the picture of the animal that you get, and don't talk about it. I want you to kind of hide it. You're going to color. You can just use your pen, or you can use a crayon if you need to. You've got about 2 minutes to get this colored. So those in the back, go ahead and begin. Color your animal. Color it, just kind of design it, make it to where we can look at that and we can say, good job. Good job. You did it, Daniele. Like they said in kindergarten, you did such a good job. Okay. All right. Don't talk about your animal. Pick other topics. Don't talk about your animal. Okay. Okay, while we are coloring that, I want to talk to you about a really big word. If you know what this word means, don't shout it out. Okay, I'm going to tell you a word, and I want you to tell me if you know it. You raise your hand if you know this word, if you know what it means. Not if you've heard it, but if you know what it means. Schema. S-C-H-E-M-A. Schema. Oh, Mr. Hagen. All the English teachers, put your hands down. No, okay. No, I'm very glad that Mr. Hagen knows schema. Does anybody else in the room know what schema means? Okay, the word schema. There are words that have a variety of meaning. Tell me a word that has more than one meaning. Schema is when there are words that just have different meanings to different groups. It's not like a pair of scissors or a pear that you eat, but this is words that mean different things to different people. So I want you to tell me, what is a model? What is a model? You? Yeah. What's a model? Has anybody ever made a model train or plane? That's kind of out of date, huh? Most people in the room said the model is like a person that we like to look at and take pictures of, right? Like an Instagram famous pretty person, somebody on the front of a magazine, that's a model, right? But what about a model plane? So do you think that if you were sitting around a bunch of middle schoolers who were painting their planes and you said, I want to be a model when I grow up, they would look at you and giggle, right? Model means different things to different people. What about the word DNR? Has anyone heard the term DNR? DNR. What does it mean? Has anyone ever heard Department of Natural Resources? It's a government organization, right? A department. What is it in the medical field? Does anybody know what I think of when I hear DNR? Do not resuscitate. That's way different. So when people say, oh yeah, we went DNR. Like, what? So it depends on where you're from. Okay. Margin. What is a margin? Mr. Mike, what's a margin? In your schema, what's a margin? Oh, a percentage of profit or loss. That's the first thing that came to his mind. Did anybody think that? That's not, okay, what is the margin in, who does design? Miss Jessica and Miss Rasmussen, the newspaper in the yearbook. What is the margin from what you guys do? Is it the space around a piece of paper or something that you're designing? So margin's very different. Okay, what if I said in a room full of 12-year-old boys, I like nuts. Right, I think I have someone that's 12. Raise your hand if you're 12. Right, okay. Okay, so it really matters what room you're in, what words you say, right? Perspective matters. I learned a new one last night. My oldest son, he is a really good, he's a floor guy is what I call him, but I think he's some kind of fancy technician. I don't know, they use fancy words, but he finishes beautiful hardwood floors in really expensive houses, and he makes them really beautiful and shiny and pretty, and he likes to shellac his floors. And the other day he came home shellacked, and I've never heard that before. So what does shellacked mean? Is it the shiny coating, or is it, man, he was shellacked, we got him, we knocked him out. It really matters what perspective you look at something from. Okay, everybody, I want everyone who drew a rabbit to hold your picture up. Okay, I want everyone who colored a duck to hold your picture up. I gave you the same picture. It's all about perspective. You do it, you colored it as both. That's special talent right there. Now you have your own little optical illusion that you did. Can you see the rabbit? Can you see the duck? Can you see what the other person can see? Yeah? It could be a rabbit, it could be a duck. You don't know. It depends on, what did you see first? Did everyone color what they saw first? Or did you switch it and color what you saw second? Who colored what they saw first? Who switched it and colored what they saw second? Okay, good. You guys, maybe you're better at putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Okay, who has my oldest optical illusion? I want you to start passing this one out, and I want you to start passing the sitting guy out. Now, go ahead and start passing out the others. We've got a cat, and we've got a tiger. So as those are getting passed out, I am going to tell you a story. And the name of the guy, I had to write it down because I'm not even sure. Does anybody in here speak Chinese? Who speaks Chinese? And I need to find a Chinese person. Y'all don't laugh at me. Sai Weng. Sai Weng was an old farmer. And one day, Sai Weng lost his horse. Anybody ever heard this story before? Sai Weng lost his horse. So sad. Would you guys be sad if you lost your horse? So sad. He lost his horse, and all the neighbors gathered around because this was back in the day before Insta. It was before Facebook, and all the neighbors gathered around and they told him their opinions. And they said, oh, you poor thing, that's so unfortunate. That's so sad that you lost your horse. And he said, could be sad, could be good, could be bad. We'll see. And I'm like, what? And then they all left. You know, the next day, that horse came back with friends. The friends were 7 wild horses. So they rounded them up into the corral, and all the neighbors came. They were talking, they were chatting. You know, when the latest news, they were chatting and talking. And They said, oh, you're so lucky. Now you have 8 horses. You're way richer. And he said, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. We'll see. So the next day, his son, who was also very excited with the neighbors, decided that he was going to break those horses. He was going to maybe sell some of them or maybe raise some new ones and he's going to make some money off this. He's pretty excited. So the son starts to break the horses. And of course, they're wild and they're crazy. And he gets kicked off the back and he broke his leg. And then all the neighbors came around and what'd they say? Oh my goodness, they said, you are so unlucky. This situation is terrible, so awful. Your poor son has a broken leg. And the farmer said, what did he say? He said, maybe not. We'll see. And they're like, what? How could this be a good thing? And they all go home kind of rolling their eyes and grumbling, that weird old farmer. How could this be a good thing? And the next day, the riders came through town calling all able-bodied men to go to war. But his son didn't have to go. And he said, all the neighbors said, oh, you're so lucky. Your son doesn't have to go to war. All the people who were coming back dying or maimed from the war, you're so lucky. And what did Sai Wing say? Maybe. We'll see. It's all about perspective so many times. Okay, so I want you to look at this one. Look at the one with the little guy sitting on the corner. What do you think? Is it disturbing? Is it easy to figure out? Could you draw this? It's your grandfather? I was going to say he's cute, but is he cute in yours? Abuelito. Okay. He looks like the bunny that you colored? Oh, okay. Okay, now I want you to look at the oldest optical illusion that they think they found. This is from some temple wall in India. What is this? In this picture, what is this? You see it? What is it? What do you see? It's not a person. You see an elephant. You see a what? You see a bull? Right? Maybe like a water buffalo or something. The funny thing is, that's a really small elephant and a really big water buffalo. But so, who in this room saw an elephant first? Raise your hand. Saw an elephant. I saw an elephant first myself. You saw a pig? Like the ones in our back 40. Okay. Who saw the water buffalo first? Who saw this and thought it was a person? Someone said it was a person. Okay. So, it's about perspective. What is it? And of course, these are just made to make you think. But, okay, now look at the cat. See the cat? Who saw a cat going upstairs? Who saw a cat going downstairs? That's about 50-50. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think it's going upstairs or downstairs? Downstairs. Can you switch your perspective? Look at the picture. Can you switch it? Can you see it the other way? Is there anyone in the room that can only see it one way? Now you don't want to admit it because I said you were open-minded if you could see it the other way. Anybody only see it one way? Can you all see it both ways? Can everyone see both ways now? Yes. Okay. Now, this one's kind of funny, kind of silly. Who found the hidden tiger? Oh, we got some smart ones up in the front. Who found the hidden tiger? Okay, so I think we're not going to give this away. I love this one. This is a really fun one. If you haven't found the hidden tiger, make sure that you're one of the ones that keeps this, takes it home and finds it. Don't let your friends show you. Actually, you can, right? It's perspective, right? You find it? When you find it, you're going to go, what? Okay. Sometimes perspective is just a point of view, so it can be really different from different sides. But you can practice walking in someone else's shoes because it can help you learn from other people's perspectives. It can help improve you, to grow you. But sometimes just seeing something from someone else's perspective will just help you come to peace in yourself, just to be able to have peace in yourself. Okay, anybody in this room ever think that they wanted to be an actor maybe when they grew up? Raise your hand. Okay, I think I saw a staff member. I want the staff member up here, and I heard a big loud volunteer right here. Is that Ray? Come on. Now, while they're coming up here, we're going to take a vote, okay? I want you guys to throw out some ideas for me. I want you to tell me, you guys can stand right over here. So it can be from a parent to a child, or it can be from a teacher to a student. And I want you guys to tell me some ideas, and then we're going to vote. We're going to pick up a couple of ideas. Tell me some ideas of things that you commonly fight about, argue about. Well, no, we're not punching anyone, okay? Let's not. Okay, what do we fight about? What's an argument that you might have with a teacher or a parent? Grades? Oh, about your grades. So grades is one. What's another one? Money, like spending money? What? Chores. That's good. Oh, boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, so money, chores, boyfriend, girlfriend. What's the other one we said? Grades. They are going to argue about this topic, okay? So they don't get to say, you're totally at our mercy. They get to argue about this topic. Any juniors in here from last year? Y'all know that I love to do some argumenting. I can't English. Okay, so we're going to have them argue a topic. So we're going to narrow it down from those four. Which one should we do? Whoa, okay, I think that took the room. Boyfriend and girlfriend. So is this a son and father, or is this a teacher and student? Whoa, okay, that's unanimous. Okay, so this is the son and a father. It's going to be about whether or not he's allowed to have a girlfriend yet. Yeah, okay. So we're going to argue about it, and we're going to give our good reasons back and forth. Mr. Ray, come on. Now we're going to put a little spin on it. You're the son, and you're the father. Come on. Okay. I hope I didn't start something.
Oh, really? What's going on in your life? You got a girlfriend? Whatever. Obviously. Well, you ain't come to me about this, did you? What's to come to you about? I mean, I just feel like you're pretty young. Where did you have a girlfriend, aren't you? I'm 17. Maybe you let go a little bit. You just pee your bed like that? What? Where did you even get that from? It was hot. I was sweaty. You keep this house at 85 degrees because you're bone thin. Oh, for real.
Okay, guys, give me some arguments.
Well, who's this girl you talking to? Since when? How long y'all been together for? Dad, we met her like 3 months ago. Perfect. You must be going senile. You're getting old. I don't remember meeting this girl. What's her name? Claudia. Oh, yeah, I heard. You heard what? Well, son, you love the girl, son. I just think, son, it's too young. Okay. 17 is too young, you know? How is 17 too young?
Okay. All right, give him a round of applause. Put over there.
Keep going.
Very good. Okay. What do you think? Do you think they did a good job in putting themselves into a set of shoes that they don't normally belong in, right? I have one more paper that needs to be passed out. Alan, if you can get those passed out. Now, we're getting ready to do a little exercise. Do you ever stop when you have an argument and think about the perspective of the other person? I am going to give you 2 papers each, a list of people. I want you to pick the one that you relate to the most and the one that you relate to the least. Does that make sense? And I want you to write on the paper the name of the job or the person that you relate to the most, the one that you're the most like, And I want you to write down the name of the one that you're the least like or that you least understand, okay? Nurse, teacher, sick patient, an elderly disabled person, a murderer, a baby, a homeless person, a president, like of the country, and a ballet dancer? What? Okay. Nurse, teacher, sick patient, elderly disabled person, murderer, baby, homeless person, president, and ballet dancer. Did you pick the one in your mind already that you relate to the most? Did you pick the one in your mind that you're like, oh, no? So the one that you're the most like and the one that you're the least like. Okay. How many people relate the most to a ballet dancer? Okay. How many people relate the most to a nurse? Aw. How many people relate the most to a baby? Murderer. I knew it. I knew it. I know. I've been watching you. Okay. Okay. How many people relate to being the president? This I have to watch because I'm watching your future. Oh, I know you, girl. I know you. Okay. What about a baby? Oh, yeah. Who relates the least to being a baby? So write it down. Write the one that you're the most like, the one you're the least like. Does everybody have their two picked? Write it down. Write it down. Okay. You don't have to put your name on it because it can be incriminating later. This is obviously an exercise of you taking their perspective. So this is a quick little thing. What do you think and feel? You putting yourself in the perspective, I'm going to do a baby, right? What do I think and feel? What really matters to me? What are my worries and aspirations? What do I think and feel right now and in general? What do I think and feel? I think and feel that the world revolves around me. I can see just a few inches beyond my own face, and my major worries and aspirations are that I change this nasty nappy. I want someone to come change this nasty nappy, and if someone can please put a bottle in my mouth right now, I'm hungry. I'm always hungry, right? Okay, so write down, pick your one. Write down what you think and what you feel, what really matters, what are your worries and your aspirations, just a word or two on each line. Okay, what do you see? What's your environment? What social media things do you see? What websites are you looking at? What magazines do you see? Do people still do magazines? What marketing do you see? What schoolwork do you see? And what do you see at work? What do you see in your dorm room? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you hear your friends saying about you? If you're that murderer, what are your friends saying about you? Write this down. Write it down on your paper. What do your friends say about you? What does your family say about you? Oh, so see, I was going to do with the baby. So what do I see? I see giraffes hanging around in my room, and I see green and yellow because my parents didn't want to know if I was a boy or a girl. Actually, I am so old that I don't think they could have known. Okay. Hearing. What do I hear around me? I hear a sound maker, right? Someone's trying to keep me quiet because I have a dirty nappy. What do I hear my family saying? What do I hear my family saying or doing? I hear my mom singing to me. That's a real memory. So many memories of mama singing. What do my boss and teachers say? I don't know. Sabbath school teacher says, pitter, pitter, pat. Do they still have that song? What do my peers say? They cry. What do I say and do? What is my appearance and what is my attitude in public? My appearance is whatever my parents make it, but my attitude in public can be very different. Who in this room was a quiet baby? Were you a quiet, shy baby? Who in this room was a hammy, wild baby that wanted to be with everybody? Please, Irvin, put up your hand. Okay. Okay. Pains. What are my fears, my frustrations, and my obstacles? My fears are that my mom's going to walk away and not come back. My obstacles are that I can't get out of my crib on my own. Gains. What are my wants, needs, and what do I see as a measurement of success or goals? I think my main goals is I want food, and my measure of success is if I always have a bottle in my mouth, right? So take this, fill it out for the person that you relate to the most and the person that you relate to the least. It's a good exercise for putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So, choosing a healthy perspective can literally save your life. You've heard before that 10% of life is what? Is what happens to you. What is the other 90% of life? It's how you respond to what happens to you, right? It's what you do about what happens to you, your choices when life comes at you. So sometimes we need to change our perspective, right? Sometimes we need to see things through a different view, a different lens. It can really help us to change our perspective. Sometimes it can help us deal with anxiety, help us to get peace. But sometimes there's another reason to change your perspective. Sometimes it's just wrong. One reason to change your perspective is just because it's wrong. So, can anybody tell me what are the top several most irrational fears in the U.S.? A lot of them in other countries too, but in the U.S., what are the most irrational fears? I'm not talking about the fear of your grandma who is 100 years old dying. That's not an irrational fear. That's legit. Okay, a lot of people are afraid of heights. Heights is one of them. What else? Water. People are afraid of water. What? Afraid of the dark. Afraid of the monster under the bed? Is that what you said? Right, okay. Flying, thunder and lightning, boogeyman. Do you know one of the most common fears in America, at least, is needles? Like, I face this all the time at work. Are you kidding me? I promise I won't kill you and it won't hurt that bad, right? Needles. There's another one that was listed as one of the most common irrational fears, but it can be rational too. Dogs. Anybody afraid of dogs? So, if you have your Bibles, I want you to turn to 2 Kings 6, verse 8. This is an example of someone who is afraid, someone who had a fear. It was legitimate fear. No, it wasn't. He was wrong. Sometimes your fears are not legitimate because they're wrong. They're understandable, but they're not legitimate because they're wrong. So, let me read you this story. 2 Kings 6, 8 to 17. When the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, "We'll mobilize our forces at such and such a place." But immediately, Elisha, the man of God, would warn the king of Israel, "Don't go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there." So the king of Israel would send word to the place indicated by the man of God. Time and time again, Elisha warned the king, so he would be on the alert there. The king of Aram became very upset over this. He called his officers together and demanded, "Which of you is the traitor? Who's been informing the king of Israel of my plans?" "It's not us, my lord the king," one of the officers replied. "Elisha, the prophet in Israel, tells the king of Israel even the words you speak in the privacy of your bedroom." "Go and find out where he is," the king commanded, "so I can send troops to seize him." And the report came back, "Elisha is at Dothan." So one night, the king of Aram sent a great army with many chariots and horses to surround the city. When the servant of the man of God, Elisha, got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops, horses, chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" the young man cried to Elisha. "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than on theirs." Then Elisha prayed, "Oh, Lord, open this man's eyes and let him see." The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, what did he see on the hillside? He looked up and he saw that the hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. It's important to change our perspective when we're afraid, when we're stressed, when we're struggling, because sometimes you're just wrong. Ezekiel 36:26 says, "I will give you a new heart. I will put a new spirit within you." So God promises to give us a new heart. Have you guys heard that all your life? God promises to give you a new heart, right? He promises to give us a new perspective. But now I want you to be honest with me. Have any of you ever wondered, truly, how? Like, when you were a kid, were you that kid that always said, "Why? How?" Anybody in the room that kid? Always wanted to know why. Always wanted to know how. Do you want to know how? How can you get this new heart, this new perspective? Sometimes we overcomplicate things as Christians. You know that the gospel, the good news, the new heart is a mystery. Have you heard that it's a mystery? You know that it's a mystery, but it's not a mystery really how. The mystery is that it happens at all, right? You've seen people. They don't always prove themselves worthy, right? And you yourself, sometimes you do a really bad job. Like the fact that God can change an old heart into a new heart, that's the mystery. But the way that he does it is actually given to us over and over again in the Bible. We can know how. So how can I change my perspective? So first of all, sometimes you just have to realize that life happens. Sometimes life changes perspective for us. And it's amazing how simple our needs actually are. When the water was out a few days ago, did you realize that you probably weren't going to die if you didn't get to flush the toilet every single time? Did you realize that you probably weren't going to die if you didn't get 3 showers that day? Has anyone ever seen a loved one die a slow death? Like someone sick, they were sick with cancer, or they had heart failure, and for weeks they were wasting away. Someone that you loved very much. You knew that they were probably going to die. Old grandma was going to die soon. Has anybody ever experienced that or watched that with someone? It's amazing how many things don't matter anymore. If you are in the hospital bed sick, does it matter if you get your assignment in on time? You're still in school. Does it matter? It doesn't really matter so much, right? What matters is that you get that next breath. Things get so much more simple. So sometimes life happens and our perspective narrows down and we realize the things that are important in life. When I was a little girl and I was living in the Marshall Islands, our power would go out a lot. And when we were first there, our power went out one time and we had no way to get water, we had no lights, we had nothing worked in the house. And we were hungry. We didn't have a lot of snacky foods. We were poor and there wasn't a lot of stuff available. We would always cook rice and beans or cook our things, and we didn't have a stove that worked. We didn't know what to do. But our best friends were another pastor and family that lived there. And you know what they did? They took us out into our front yard and they taught us how to build a fire, island style. We brought out our old pots and pans. We brought the water that we had in buckets, and we made food out there. And you know, it was so dark in the houses way before sundown that our whole neighborhood came out. And we were cooking out there, and we were doing our work out there. We were doing our homework and writing our papers and doing everything, because light lasts longer outside than inside, right? You know that was one of the best memory-making times in my childhood, was when all the neighbors came out and we would share. If we didn't have enough to make just the right meal, we would share, and we kind of camped out. And you learn how to live differently and make memories when life changes your perspective for you. Another way to change your perspective and to allow God to implant that new heart into you is gratefulness. Practice gratefulness even when you want to complain. You ever feel like griping around here? You ever feel like complaining? About 5 or 10 years ago, I had been really stressed. I'd been stressed about paying a certain bill on time and getting my homework done and all the things that I needed to do. And I woke up one morning really having been stressed. And I woke up and I stretched, and it was in the winter. And I looked out and I could see the cold outside. And I realized that I had a thick down comforter. I was laying in a soft bed. I was clean. The house smelled good. I was doing really well. It was comfortable. And I thought, you know, I'm so stressed. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have the life of a princess. 100 years ago, a soft bed, plenty to eat, all the things that I had, that was something that only the rich people had, but we have everything that we need right now. The next thing is, like we did in our exercises today, if you want to receive that new heart, to understand, to have a mind that sees, choose to practice seeing things from the other side. And then the last thing is that you get to choose to reframe your negative thoughts. When your palms are sweaty and your heart is racing and you're scared, Is that fear and anxiety, or is that excitement for something new that you want to embrace? You get to choose to put a spin on every emotion. If you feel negative and angry, are you just mad? And is it a bad thing? Or what's the deeper reason? Are you being protective? Are you being helpful? Do you need to make something right? And then also spending quiet time, allowing yourself to connect with God, to learn and to study and to think. Sometimes it's worth a change in perspective. Sometimes a first world problem moment reminds us that maybe you're not doing life the way that you had hoped to. Are you okay? Are you growing the way that you want to be growing? Are you becoming who you plan on being? You get to define your experience. You get to choose how you look at the world and how you look at this situation. And you get to see and determine how much you contribute to the world around you. You get to choose to live and to spread a life of light and beauty, and to always seek for clearer truth and brighter light. Luke 11:35-36 says, make sure the light that you think you have is not actually darkness. If you're filled with light, with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant, as though a floodlight were filling you with light.